Hey, everybody. Welcome to Undivided Live Memorial Day edition. Who here is prepping for their child's kindergarten IEP? I mean, how are you feeling? Prepared, nervous, ready to roll, maybe a little overwhelmed? Let us know in the chat, and just know that everyone here that you can see on the screen and everyone watching completely relates. And we're here today to learn from each other, because hearing how other parents get things done, I know that that's gotten me by for the last 12 years. And I love talking to specialists, but you all, parents, you're my compass. Lena's my North Star, and you're all helping me get there. And I know that's how everyone feels, which is why I'm so excited for our guests today, two rock star moms who are making things happen because they believe in their kids and all kids. So we're going to talk to one mom who pushed right through the "we don't do that" and replied with, "Well, now you have." And thankfully, she didn't have to do it alone. She had a secret weapon, which came in handy because kindergarten IEPs can be terrifying. Throw in a request for inclusion, language immersion, a district transfer, and eventually retention. Oh, and don't forget the very uninvited COVID kindergarten. And they're still standing. They're still standing here with us today. So let's meet them and talk about how they conquered kindergarten. I'm Lindsay Crane, and I had the content and community teams at Undivided. Today, we welcome one of our first Undivided parents, Isabelle. She is Undivided OG, and her fellow mom and Undivided Navigator, Kelly. Isabelle graduated with a degree in specialized education in Canada and worked in the mental health field. She's now a stay-at-home mom, sprinkled with subbing as a TA at a French preschool. She has two daughters, and her youngest has Down syndrome. We hear she loves singing, right? Right, Isabelle? She loves singing and strength training. So in other words, don't mess with mama. So welcome, Isabelle. We're so happy to have you here today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Of course. And also with us is that secret weapon that I mentioned earlier, Isabelle's Undivided Navigator, Kelly. Kelly has two children with IEPs and was an educational therapist and special education teacher for 17 years before becoming our lead navigator. She lives for supporting families. If anyone's met Kelly, they know this is true. She lives for supporting families and helping them achieve their goals. Welcome back, Kelly. Always good to see you.
Thanks for having me back.
Of course. Also with you today in the chat, as usual, we have our community manager, Donna, and another one of our incredible navigators, Iris. They're going to be passing along your questions to us. We're going to get to as many as we can. And if you still have questions after our chat, or if you want one-to-one support, our Undivided navigators like Kelly and Iris would love to help. And at the end of our talk today, we're going to share a sneak peek of one of Kelly's boost calls. So this is where our navigators connect with families like Isabelle and start tackling whatever is top of mind for parents. You can check out the link that Donna shared in the chat. It tells you all about our free Kickstart and how our navigators can support you exactly where you are. And we're actually going to hear about that right now, firsthand from Isabelle and Kelly. They're going to share the most important things that you need to know so you can rock your kiddos' Kinder IEP. All right, Isabelle. So we know how nerve-wracking it can be sending off our babies to the great unknown they call kindergarten. So I want to first talk about your journey because it has a lot of common touch points for parents. And then we'll get into your top tips for the IEP. So to start, what were your priorities for Amelia?
So for me, the most important thing was that she be included in a typical classroom with a typical peers. I also wanted her to be part of the French immersion program that my oldest daughter already was going to. She was in second grade at the time. So same school as her sister, inclusion in the French immersion program, because that school at that time also had an English program, which is no longer. But back then there was an English program as well.
And why was inclusion important to you?
I always knew for like the younger grades, kinder, first grade, that I wanted her to be included because I fully believed that was the best choice for her. I considered other options. I talked to other parents with kids with special needs, Down syndrome, and I couldn't see any con in sending her to be fully included, knowing her abilities, how social she was. I just believed that that was the best option for her. I had no doubt for kinder that I wanted her to be included with typical peers. The typical peers modeling for her, that was important for me, that for her to have that. And also for typical kids, I think it's a gift to them to have kids in their classroom that are not typical, whatever you wanted to, how you wanted to find that, because the world that we live in has all kinds of people. So I'm like, it's a gift to Amelia to see you guys as example, but it's also for them. You want that. Let me tell you, want that in your class,
Of course. And not a far, most people could relate to the fact that you would like for your children to maybe go to the same school and obviously be a part of your culture and your language. And it's hard to wrap our heads around the fact that that's something that actually has a process, right? You have to go through a process for many reasons. And I mean, which I think is also an important part that I kind of in your intro or in the intro hinted at, but your preferred school was out of district, which can be, especially tricky with an IEP. So did you receive pushback based on Amelia's disability for that transfer?
Yeah, I did. And I mean, Amelia was already kind of set up in our home district, so it would have been easy. Also, this district is like more inclusive, I feel like. And but the other reasons why I wanted Amelia at that school overweight, like that was just more important to me than keeping her in a home district. Transferring district to start with, even in, it's paperwork. So that's always that part that's kind of a bummer. But I did call the principal, like the spring before, to say that my intention were to for Amelia to go to the school. And I think when I had the phone calls with the principal and the vice principal, and they were like, "Oh, that's a terrible idea. That's going to be so hard, at an immersion program, Amelia's, your daughter's speech delay, that will be really hard." That was basically, "Are you sure?" Like as if I came up with that idea that morning, and then I called, like as if I hadn't put up thoughts.
Hey, this could be fun. Let's try it.
I know, right? I'm like, oh, I never thought about her speech delay. Actually, and what I did after that is looked online and found a few studies about how actually for kids to learn another language with speech delays could actually be very beneficial. I printed it out, dropped it off at the school. Just wanted to show that I did my work, my homework. But yeah, that was the first thing. It was like, it's a bad idea. And I think it was shortly after that I met Kelly in person for the first time, because I was taken back. And also I didn't know, I just didn't know if it's legal for them just to say she can't, it's too hard. Like I just didn't know. I thought I knew, but I didn't know. When I was put in a situation, it was difficult to hear that.
Right. And so it sounds like the two of you met at a perfect time, because the permit was granted, right? Like that, which was a huge hurdle cleared. And I don't know, Kelly, if you want to say anything about that, but you didn't automatically like sail into the school of your choice after you got the permit, right? I mean, there is something like, where did you land first and why? I don't know, Kelly, if you wanted to add anything about the permit, but then I would love to hear then like what happened after that was granted. And, it wasn't just this like perfect landing.
Oh, I think with a permit, it can be tricky. And what Isabelle did that was great is she worked with the person who sort of oversaw that at her home district, really guided her through the steps to make sure that all of her bases were covered. The school that she wanted to permit into was a lottery school. So she did make sure she did all the steps in order to enter the lottery. We had thought, and also like the school website kind of said siblings have preference. We didn't think it would be very challenging to get into the program because there was a sibling there. And then Isabelle can talk more about what happened with that piece, but she did end up getting a spot in the preferred school, however, not into the preferred program. So that was a big hurdle.
What do you want to add about that? Why did you not land in the program, Isabelle?
Right. The truth is still siblings have preference. And I was told they basically, like, you tell them the year before, my intention is for the sibling to go, and then they save the spot for you. That's what I've seen practice, that the spot was saved, siblings high priority. But by the time I got all my permits, like the permit out of my district into this district, I was I don't know, maybe a few days past the deadline. But I already told them, save a spot for my kid. So by the time it was all said and done, my papers were in. They're like, oh, actually, the kinder is full. So we have to put in the English program. And then she'll be first on the wait list to go if and when a spot opens. It's a very demanding. Lots of people want to go to that school. There might not be a spot, but, you're first on the list. And the program for kinder, the English side of the school, which was a little bit neglected at the time, actually had TK, K, and first grade in one class with one teacher. So it wasn't the best.
That's Gen Ed, right?
That's Gen Ed. Yes. Right? Wow. One teacher with over 20 kids with, TK, K, and first grade. The teacher has to teach all three. One teacher, no aid. And then Amelia in the mix, So that's where they placed her. So, it's like I got my permits and she was in, but it's not what I wanted. I was not gonna just let it rest and have her in this not ideal placement, to be polite.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's another big piece of that when you say there's no aids, but there's an embedded aid written in Amelia's IEP. So how did
Right.
that get solved?
Yeah. Kelly, you want to say something about that?
I think that's why we didn't really have a fight. The new district didn't try to put her into a segregated classroom. They put her right into gen ed, and I think that's because the prior district, the way the IEP was set up, was that she would be in general education with an embedded aid. And that particular district they are moving to be fully inclusive. So they're trying to get all of the special education kids in the general ed classes with an embedded aid. So the TKK first grade class technically had an aide, but there were a lot of challenges with the aide that the district had hired where she was absent a lot. The kindergarten teacher or the teacher preferred not to have anybody in the classroom or not to have an aide in the classroom. And it was just really acrimonious. So, but she did end up getting parent volunteers to become her aides. And that was one of the, I think, really great that Isabelle was able to do that. She was basically able to be Amelia, her daughter's one-to-one aide for the time that she was in that classroom.
Okay, I have to ask you about this, Amelia, because my first reaction is like, oh my God, of course, like you shouldn't have to do that, right? Ever, as we all know. And then the second reaction, which I mentioned to you before, is I can't believe they let you in. Well, I guess this is a gen ed classroom, right? Because, my daughter was in special ed classrooms. So I watched, my friends, they always were volunteering and going into the gen ed classrooms. And we were not, there were no volunteers allowed in the special ed classrooms. It's we don't need that, right? They didn't, which did not help with transparency or anything else. But I mean, how did you respond when they're like, and I've never heard a teacher say they don't need an aide, but how did you, so you responded by saying, great, I will be with Amelia. And what did you see in the classroom?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it wasn't planned that I was going to stay as long as I did. I noticed the first few days I had negative report about Amelia. And I had an intuition that when I met the teacher in person, I was like, this is going to be interesting right away. From her interaction with the kids, little TKK first grade, the way she was, I was like, that's going to be interesting. So I had that. But then the first day I had some negative things told to me. And then the second day, and then I felt like, I don't know if she's safe. I don't know if, the teacher didn't seem to pay attention too much to any kids anyway. So I decided to I'm like, is it okay if I stay a couple hours this morning? And then the following day, I'll hang out. And then she seemed to be very happy about that. So I said, hey, do you mind? Am I invading your space? Can I be here? And she's like, oh my goodness, I love parents volunteer. You can come anytime. So then I'm like, I'm coming every day until I feel that she's safe, until I feel like I just couldn't, and thank God I'm a stay-at-home mom. And that's always been my priority is, to be with the kids, whatever they need. And Amaya still, she just started kinder. So I wanted to be there as much for her as I could. I ended up being there for 3 full months, full-time morning to the whole day. But I didn't plan it, but it happened I was like, I'm going back because there was not the proper support. So I'll be the support. That's my joy, really. I didn't see that. It worked out that the teacher was so welcoming to parent volunteers.
We asked for an FBA, a functional behavioral assessment, because it was clear that she was going to need more support than what her prior district had assessed for her. So we kind of had to wait for that process to go through.
Right, because when you transfer from a different district, you bring your IEP with you. They have to follow it by law, whatever it says. But sometimes just the tools, the services are different. So they do the best they can, but they didn't have an embedded aid the same as our home district. So that we had an amendment IEP in the fall to then kind of adjust to the new district. That's when we had the FBA, but that took a long, it takes a long time to get everything in the place, So in the meantime, we were just in that placement, and I was there with Amelia and helping her and the other kids as much as I could.
Well, and my reaction to that is that you're getting negative reports, yet nothing was in place to support Amelia. So how, that you're getting reports about, something not working with her in that classroom, yet she was not given any chance to succeed. Because wasn't there even a circumstance where they they lost her for a couple minutes.
Yeah, well, my oldest, she's a couple of years older than her. She was like, Amelia was sitting in the, recess area, the playground area by herself for the longest time. She's like, her class wasn't there. There was no adult there. I'm like, wait, what? Like, it's the fall. It's like 90 degrees outside. Amelia hates the sun. She probably doesn't even know where to go because she's not super good at being oriented. And it's a big school. It's a big courtyard. But that happened actually more than once where they didn't know. Instead of Amelia was trying to elope, she would just get distracted, walk away, and nobody would notice because it was one teacher for 20 plus kids that were, Right. So, there was, and it just didn't seem like I could not be there. I had to be there.
Yes, right. Yes, and what, Kelly? Sorry.
Safety. Like she needed to make sure her daughter was safe, and she didn't feel like the way the school was set up would keep her safe.
Right. And the thing is, I know that there was no doubt with the proper support, just a little bit of attention, At that point, I didn't think it was possible the one-on-one right away. I knew it was going to take a while. So I'm like, she just needs, even if it's a teacher who pays attention and looks up at the classroom, because that actually, it was bad. So, I'm like, if with the proper support, a little bit, she would do great. She just has nothing. She's left to, it just was a bad situation,
Yeah, I mean, kindergarten, right? Yeah, they still need a little direction in kindergarten.
No, exactly the TK. There was TK in that class, quite a handful, like 7 or 8 TKs too, that were super needy. They needed a hug. They needed to go to the bathroom more. They needed all the things that a little TK needs when they're, And right. So it was like a multifaceted issue.
Yeah. And so obviously the appropriate supports were not in place to support Amelia's success. So Kelly, you did make some recommendations that would help Amelia and her teacher, and I'm sure the entire class, but do you want to share?
Oh yeah. So this was my beginning, Isabel's one of my OG clients. This is when we're just starting with Undivided with Special X at the time. And my experience as a teacher and a therapist was not really with kids that had more significant support needs. So we actually consulted with an educational therapist, and she is amazing. And she came out to the school and observed Amelia in class, wrote up this really comprehensive, fantastic report. Like, here's what I saw. Here's what's not working. Here's what's working. I don't know if there was anything actually that was working, but here are my recommendations. These are her accommodations that are not being followed. These need to be added to the IEP. It was really fantastic to have that. I learned so much from the educational therapist. And I think that was really helpful to sort of figure out okay, these are the tools that she really needs to be successful. Let's make sure they're implemented. Isabel had to be the one to do all of the implementation of those. But they're very helpful.
Right. And was the teacher receptive to that support?
Yeah, when I asked her first if I could have someone come observe Amelia. I really made it about Amelia, which it was. I didn't say, you're a sucky teacher. Can I have someone come witness this, please? I was like, hey, Amelia, I feel like I need help it's my first time for her being in an included. So I made it about her. So yeah, she was like, sure. And as a principal, everybody was okay with her coming for a day. And then we were able to use that report, which helped me immediately, implying, I put some tools for me, visual schedules and things like that I share with the therapist that she was seeing, on the school grounds. But then I was able to bring that report when we had that amendment IEP. We brought it with them at the amendment IEP, right, Kelly? We brought that to show.
Yeah, I think we got everything added. And I think it was very clear. And this, I think, helped get us, potentially into the French side maybe more quickly. But I think it was very clear that the teacher was not a good match for Amelia at all. She sat in the meeting. She didn't say anything. We would directly try to talk to her. She wouldn't speak. You could tell she was very uncomfortable. And we just we were trying to be really collaborative and open, and she just was completely shut down. So it is very clear that this is what this child needs to be successful. And the teacher was not really open to it. She was okay if somebody else was doing it, but she wasn't really able to do it herself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a very unique situation because I've never met a teacher that was so detached. So, I mean, even typical parents of typical kids were like, what is going on? It was it was probably the worst placement she could have gotten, to be honest, but it's just kind of the luck we had. But, we learned in the process, and, that teacher now is working somewhere else. I'm not sure, but it was interesting to see there was no hope for her to implement any of these tools because she was not a present teacher, even with typical kids, So, right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how did you, this is a really important thing, especially for new parents to think about too, because how did you stay collaborative? I mean, when things were a mess, your daughter wasn't getting what was in her IEP. She was in a temporary placement that was pretty terrible by all accounts, and you were possibly getting lied to about, a full program. So how did you stay level-headed and build up Amelia's team?
Initially I was just obviously taking it one day at a time, believing that there was a spot that she was going to be the first one if a spot open. But then I got some insight from some other parents that were like, Isabelle, there is room in the kinder class. Like, the parents that were in the kinder class could see there was 3 kids that never, they ended up not coming to that school with their empty desk. Because there's at least 3 or 4 spots, And then I had a therapist that was like, I think you should probably go see the principal and bring it back up that you want her. So I started to ask more questions. And also I did ask the principal, this class needs an aide. Not just for my kid. This class is not appropriate for any kid. But I was typically told, well, IEP's coming up. We can bring all that up, whatever. There was no immediate solution. And they couldn't do anything about the aide. I think if I knew from the beginning that it was going to take 3 months and I was going to be pushed aside and lied to, literally, I would have probably not been able to handle it appropriately. But because I didn't know what was ahead of me. As to take it one day at a time, and eventually I started to be a little bit more vocal. And then I'm making an appointment with the principal. I was very angry. I got my anger out, talking about it through my husband, and then I said I need to meet with you because I had heard these things about having, there was room and all that. So, but to make a long story short, by the time the appointment was scheduled and happened, we had the IEP, we had, I think the FB was complete, and he was like, oh, actually, I wanted to meet with you because a one-on-one was approved that she can start Monday. That was like a Wednesday or something. And I'm like, so I think the only question I said, so tell me why there was room. And I was told that it was a wait list, and there was no wait list, really. There was room. And he said, well, we were just waiting to see if she was going to be granted the support that she needed. You could have told me that. I might have even understood if you told me that instead of saying there's no room when there is room. I mean, that was
completely lying and waiting, and really almost seems like waiting for you to say something, right? Like waiting for you to really, bring it to the table and say, all right, now what? Right.
I should have said something earlier, probably, honestly. I guess I was always kind of trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, be hopeful, thinking, no, people don't do that on purpose, right?
We trusted the school. We trusted the school. We trusted what they were telling us. And we didn't really have a reason not to trust until you got the inside information from the other French kindergarten parents. And then we had a whole list of things that we felt were inappropriate in the current placement. Because remember, we were going to go and meet about this. These things are happening that are just really inappropriate. And that was when he was like, oh yeah, nope, there's a spot. You want to start Monday? And
just
so
kidding. Let's go.
Yeah, it was interesting. And then even after the placement she finally started in the other class, then other things were revealed. There was another kid right below her on that wait list that did not, I was told Emma was the first one on the list. The principal couldn't put any other kid before her because I would have noticed, and I would have said, hey, wait. What? So they were basically holding a couple of the kids from that French spot that they wanted because they couldn't do it without, so then that was revealed because the day that Emma was placed in that immersion class, actually the other boy that was also moved up to that class, I knew his mom really well. And she's like, I just got a call from the school. He got a spot. I'm like, wait, today? It was literally 20 minutes after my meeting. Her son was also moved. So it revealed that they were actually holding back. There was no wait list. Why suddenly there's 2 spots. Those spots were available all along. I was, okay, these people don't know. Maybe these principals never had someone with Down syndrome. I was just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, just not, assume the worst. So that's what kind of kept me going, really helping people, I guess.
Well, and our IEP teams, we could be with them for years. And so it is a really difficult balance to be collaborative. You're trying to build this team, yet fiercely advocating for your child, especially when it's like, okay, someone's lying. This is, something's not computing, but now, okay, we're moving to that placement. So I guess I will talk to my own internal conversation in my head is always like, all right, is it time to go nuclear? Am I like, at what point? Like, but it's hard when you're making progress. It's like, okay, here we go. Like, let's go to the next step. We're moving forward. I'm not, giving things up. We're making sure she has what she needs. Like, let's keep going. But that's a really hard balance. And for your kindergarten year, which is sadly not uncommon. But did you want to say something else about that?
I was just thinking that's an excellent point. That, I mean, obviously as a mom, I literally wanted to I wanted to show my anger and show, I'm not going to let you walk all over us. I wanted to be very inside. But like you just said, this is a team. I don't know how many years we'll be at that school. My oldest daughter is also at that school, has been since kinder also. So what kept me from going nuclear like that is those people, I need to keep them on my side, not in a manipulative kind of way, but just, this is the team. This principal is not going anywhere. These people are not going anywhere. I need to show that I'm on top of things. Like, I will not be, walked all over, but also I'm going to control my emotions. I'm going to work with you, even if I disagree. You have to make it work. Because then if you're in their bad books, on the wrong side, then it's hard. It's not beneficial in the long term. The anger sounds really fun and let me tell in the moment, but long term, that might not be the best way to go about things.
Right. And I guess for any situation, right? Never call angry, but you never know what's going to happen. There's a lot of emotions in IEP meetings, but you have to try to you're right, to just kind of, let me get angry because you deserved to be very angry, but then let's make a plan. Right? Be angry, but let's have a plan to make sure Amelia is getting what she needs. And the fact that this request was, finally granted, right? So was it this magical transfer? So then were all of best practices for inclusion set up, ready to go as soon as Amelia moved into her new classroom?
Oh yeah, it was overnight. It was crazy. It was perfect after that. That's it. The life is over. That's it.
We're done.
The one huge, the initial teacher, the teacher that she was placed with, was really welcoming and I'm so glad Amelia's in my class. I'm looking forward to working with her. It was really good lip service. It wasn't actually followed through, but the following teacher in the French placement they were really, they were not equipped. Like, the teacher was I've never had a kid with Down syndrome in my class. They didn't know, they were not equipped. They didn't have any tools, but they had a really good attitude. They were super ready. They told me I've been wondering why she wasn't in my class all along, because I knew her sister. I didn't know why I wanted her in my class. So they were super welcoming. They prepared the kids by showing kids little Down syndrome, video about Down syndrome, and talked to them about how she might be a little different. We felt really welcome. That was a huge piece of just being happy with that. And then the other thing, a week after she transferred, the one-on-one started. And then, I had the tools that were given to me so that I could bring that, with the new one-on-one. She had tools visual schedules and all these things. So then it was much better from that point on. It was, night and day, really. It was night and day. And, it's interesting because I was told, remembering that now, shortly, within the first month, everyone noticed her attitude, Amelia's attitude, getting better. In different ways, and not that she has a huge behavior, but she doesn't walk long distance, and the kinder class is really far from other things in the school. So, but the fact that she had the right support made a difference. Who knew?
And we can't say this enough, and all the time, everybody needs to remind themselves that behavior is a form of communication. And obviously Amelia was communicating, in that first class, this is not okay, right? This is not being set up in a way that I'm comfortable with. Probably every kid was reacting the same way. Yeah. And so it's amazing that you felt that reception and that openness and that excitement to have her in their class, which they should. But was her work, or was the class did they have modifications or adaptations that would make it universally acceptable or accessible for all of the kids in the class, including Amelia, obviously?
You asking if they added modification
Well,
in
did
the
they?
classroom?
Well, yeah. Was the work adapted for her? Was it appropriate, or was she getting the same as everyone else, whether it worked for her or not?
I think that, and it's still that way. I don't think the teachers do much to accommodate. They kind of give what they give to everyone, including Amelia. I think the one-on-one is very instrumental in making it accessible for Amelia. So if, I know that the one-on-one does that. There was things like, she was writing with a binder, so it was tilted, and she was writing with Amelia hates pencils because it's not dark enough, so she needs red or black. So they did little things like that. But the class, I found it's probably the most challenging piece. One of the most is that the classwork, the teachers don't actually, maybe it's just our school, but they don't actually accommodate the work still to this day. So the one-on-one, I think, does it. And then me, when it comes to homework, I'm the one who does it, at home.
Right. Which important to, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
Well, the kindergarten level work, I think, was appropriate for her. I think she was ready. She had some kindergarten readiness skills going into kindergarten. So I think that was, so I think part of it was the kindergarten level work was good for her. But now that she's in first grade, heading into second grade, where the academics are more challenging, she's not up, she's below grade level. So now it's much more apparent that her work needs to be modified and accommodated. And we don't think that that's happening.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Kinder was, you're right. Kinder was things that she's already good at, tracing and all that, like initial, letter recognition. But yeah, between first grade and Kinder, it's a big difference, a big jump. Yeah. So now it is showing more. That's a good point. Yeah.
Well, and also for any of you Kinder parents, or, if you have young kids, inclusion, again, we'll say this over and over, but the point is not that your kid is supposed to keep up. That's not inclusion, right? That's mainstreaming. And if somebody says, oh, well, your child isn't at grade level, that has nothing to do with inclusion, and things obviously should be adapted and modified. We all know what should be. We know what's happening. We know what we're pushing for. We know what we're, trying to work out. It is a very hard cultural shift. But again, it's this completely false expectation that has been normalized by, segregated educational systems. And that's no judgment on where you choose your placement to be for your child. It's that the system is doing it wrong because it's been done that way.
Yeah.
And I know, sorry, go ahead, Isabelle.
No, I was going to say that's something that became super apparent in first grade, is that the general education teachers, Amelia's, they always speak about that gap, she doesn't meet grade levels. We need to bring her up to, and that's not my goal. Amelia will never meet the grade levels, but she's making progress, and she's learning skills, social skills, all kinds of skills. So I'm happy. I'm not so, but I think they think about, we need to bridge that gap. That gap is going to get widened. Are you sure? She needs to meet up with grade level. No, she doesn't. That's not my goal. But I think gen ed teachers are really ingrained it. They need to meet the grade levels.
Right. It's true. And we have to just keep repeating, and for the kids that can, absolutely. There's plenty of kids that should be closing the gap that aren't, because their needs aren't being met. And then there's kids that aren't going to. My daughter's the same way, right? The gap isn't going to close. It doesn't mean that she can't benefit from a standards-based education that's made accessible to her. Same right? Yeah. And that's what, though, they haven't heard that. They haven't seen that. And that's the conversation that, we all need to keep having, more than conversation, and advocacy as well to go along with that. And I do want to touch on the socialization piece in just a minute, because it's very important. But a question that we get from lots of parents, and we actually received this from a lot of parents before the event with their RSVPs, was push-in, services. Did Amelia get push-in or pull-out services? And what sort of went into that decision between the two of you, thinking about the IEP? What did you choose, or were you given a choice, or was it a conversation?
Not given a choice very much. It's mostly pull out, and there's a lot of pull out. And again, it's a balance. She needs those services. It's great for her. She gets the one-on-one attention, but also then she's being obviously pulled out of her classroom with all of her peers. So she spends that much time out. So there's a lot of pull out. I would say, actually, right now, the only pull in is recreational therapy. Initially was pulled out, and now I think that they're trying to push in and just do it with the other kids. But it's basically all, even APE is like she's pulled out away from the PE class to do her own, So, and yeah, I think I brought that up at the last IEP. Like, there's so much pull out, like. But the genetic teacher was like, but that's what she needs. That's where she gets the education that she needs, is with the fly. Yeah, but so I don't know. I don't know the answer. I think she probably has too much pull out. We'll see what our triennial IEP is next week. We'll see if we change some of those things.
We can ask for more push in. I think the tricky part too is that half the day is in French and the special education services are in English. So like, I think scheduling would be really hard. They could only push in during the English language portion of the day. I want to also bring up, Iris made a great point about the inclusion specialist being needed. That's something that we're going to ask about in the IEP meeting next week, because it hasn't really been like, she has had some inclusion help with the resource teacher, and then there's the behavioral interventionist has been helping with that, but I think we need more. So need to figure out. So we'll be asking about that.
Right. And I don't know. I feel like I did not know that it was available in our district, the inclusion specialist. But a couple weeks ago, I had our psych evaluation in preparation for the IEP. And someone there on site's like, you should probably ask for an inclusion specialist. You just have to ask. They probably won't offer. I feel like the IEP team has been good at offering things that last one they offered that recreational therapist.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was like, you're offering me? Sure, we'll do it. So I don't know if, but it seems like in first grade going to second grade, that an inclusion specialist would really be a piece we need to add.
Yep.
I would love to hear if any parents have ever had that offered at an IEP from a district. I mean, I have never heard that actually offered, right?
Because really? It's not offered.
Have on staff. Oh, you know people that have for public school?
No, I was going to say, I'm shocked that I shouldn't be shocked, but I would think that it's been offered, but maybe it's not. Maybe parents always have to ask. I don't know.
Because an inclusion specialist is going to come and say, well, of course your daughter should be able to get push-in services, because all we have to do, like it's easy, but is, redesign how the teacher is teaching this class and make sure that it's built around all kids, especially considering kids with an IEP first. And that's, not something that a lot of teams want to hear in a meeting, because it's a lot of work and it's a huge cultural shift, but that is our right as a parent to bring that up, right? To make sure that she is getting the support she needs. And if they don't know how to properly do that, then someone can be brought in to do that. And I did want to definitely ask about the socialization. Was Amelia comfortable, and how did the kids react to her disability?
It's because of she has global delays. So even socially, she's, delayed in those things. So like in her first year of kinder, she was not super interested, even like she was kind of okay being on her own, playing with her hair. She needed the help, a little push to go play with her friends. But now in first grade, she's doing really great socially. She loves her friends. She knows all their names. She's, planning little play dates with them. She'll come back home and say, I have a play date with so-and-so. We're going to watch a movie and have popcorn. And we're going to watch Sting. And I'm like, oh, okay. She's planning these things. Even yesterday I'd pick up a fifth grader. Is like, hey, and Manny was playing baseball with us. I don't really know how and what context she was in the same recess as the fifth grader, but she likes to play baseball with us in the backyard with her dad. And she was playing baseball with the older kids, and they're like, she's really good. And like, when I hear things like that, to me, because I want Amanda to feel like she belongs, I want her to tell me she has friends and she's planning play dates. To me, that's more important, if anything, than the academic piece. So she's doing really great. From what I'm told by all the teachers and, the people that are in the school, that she's doing really great, and if ever when I asked her if she had lunch with anyone else by herself, that was her choice, because meal times were very important to me. She loves her food. So she's like, I don't eat friends at lunchtime, but
I'm focused, Mom.
She's like, I got my chicken nuggets here, people. But she's doing really great. I feel like she's doing great socially. She's playing. She's not so much parallel playing anymore. She's really involved, and she's doing great socially. Yeah.
It's awesome. And so, here she's making friends, she's moving along, suboptimal education because of lack of accessibility, but she has an aide that's not you. She's making progress, and it doesn't matter, if it's not at the rate of her peers. And so there's these great gains But you requested Amelia repeat kindergarten. So why did you feel that was necessary? And what happened when you asked? Because I know a lot of families, that's the year they choose to ask for retention. And so what happened? And why did you choose that? And what happened?
Right. There were so many factors. First of all, Amelia is a late August birthday. So she started kinder at 4 years old, which I probably, maybe I should have held her back one more year, but I didn't. So she started young in a really terrible placement for 3 months. And then when she was finally transferred to the placement we wanted, it was just a few weeks before Christmas break, which I think that year was like a whole month with that district. Came back for a month and a half or two, and then COVID happened. So we're like, we were told don't ask for attention because every kid had a bad year with COVID. So it's not, you can't present that as an excuse but to me, there was like, she was super young, placement was really bad, and she was moved. She basically had like a first day of school, a whole new, she had to get adapted to a whole new classroom, and it was a quick break after that. I had so many things that I felt like were on my side that I presented that very clearly to the IEP team. And when we had the spring IEP, when we went into the IEP that day, when the screen went on with other people, the principal was there, which he's never there at IEP. So we're like, they're going to say no. They're going to say no to repeat because he wouldn't be here if it was.
Right. They're not going to be here to say, yes, go for it.
Right. And he said no because, Amelia is doing great socially, which back then she was doing okay. It wasn't like it was okay. It was, she had friends. It wasn't something that I held on like all of her best girlfriend. It was because it was been such a challenging year. It felt like it was not relevant. And he thought, if you should keep that, because I guess you can't repeat a grade more than one time. You can't keep repeating. It's the one card you have one time. It's like, keep that for upper grade, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You're telling me that it would be easier for her to repeat when she would be a little bit more aware. Amelia didn't care repeating kinder. She was not super aware of that. She didn't mind going back to kinder again. I felt like if she was older and see her friends moving on to the next grade and she's not, that would be harder. And I feel like kinder is a great year to repeat, so we had to file a dispute resolution, which is basically the step you take before going like the full legal route with a lawyer. You can do like this little dispute resolution on the side, which we did. And after a couple months, maybe we heard back that they ruled in our favor. And the lady on the phone was like, I think she just a handful of kids in her 20-something years of experience she's retained. Like, we don't retain kids anymore. It takes a lot, but you had a really, really good case. So they actually, not only did they say, yes, you can repeat, but they added services. they added like extra minutes for, math, whatever. So, we won and then we got extra, on top of that. That's how much they felt like we had a really, really solid case. So
maybe they realized that mom was the aide in the classroom for 4 months, that she might have a good case. Maybe we should just retain Amelia,
right?
She needs, right? Yeah.
Isabelle got letters from Amelia's like doctors and private care team. And then she also like checked in with her teachers, with the French and the English teacher, like, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you guys think? And they seem to really be on board. Like, that's a great idea. Of course, yeah, I think repeating kindergarten would be really beneficial for her. And so then we couldn't get anything in writing though. So then when at the IEP meeting and the principal was like, yeah, no, we don't do that. We don't retain kids. And then, yeah. So I think Isabelle really did a great job getting her research, like covering all of her bases to make sure she was really making the right decision before she asked formally. And then I think that really helped the IDR case.
Yeah, it made us ready for it. We basically had it all together. We just submitted it to the district, and that's why it was interesting, because in the moment when the whole team was asked, like, what do you think about Amelia moving to first grade? They're all like, yeah, that would be great. And even the teachers, like, wait, what? But it became clear. I think we pushed back a little bit, with the principal, but then it became clear that he wasn't going to budge. I'm like, okay, well, I think they told me on the spot, these are your ways. You can go to IDR, and you can, I'm like, okay, well, I will do that. Right. Basically on the spot, I knew, so that's what we did.
And Janet, I'm going to put your question up here. We are, obviously not attorneys. So, but Janet's asking, when a student's retained, do they stay in the same school and same teacher, or are we allowed to send our student to a different school? And I know people who have retained their child in kindergarten, and actually a big reason was because they wanted their child to go to their home school, because that kindergarten year they were in a special ed class and they wanted them to repeat for a lot of reasons, but they also wanted them to repeat in gen ed at their home school. And it was a fight, but they got it. They did it, and they were very glad they did. Then their child was, going to school with the kids in their neighborhood. That's what was important to them. So I don't know, Kelly, if you wanted to add anything to that.
I think that, I'm sorry, Kelly. Oh,
well, so in Isabel's case, it was the same school and the same teachers.
Yeah, right.
So in that case, so I think maybe it depends on the preference of the parent.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's in the IEP, and the IEP is a lot about, you have to, if it's in the IEP that she's cleared to be retained, no matter where she goes, that's a law. It's that they have, wherever school she goes, that IEP stands until there's a new amendment IEP. So if she was like, yeah, she can repeat kinder, I would think they would have, by law, they would have to honor that IEP.
Right.
You can write it. Right?
Yeah. That's what we think. Go for it, Janet. Try, let us know what you say, because of course there's always where it's like we don't do that. And again, we say this a lot, can't say it too much. Whenever someone says we don't do that, you can ask to see the policy. So if they say, oh, you can't repeat in the same class, or you can't repeat, and go to a different class, ask to see that policy. And that's always the best way to go when they say they don't do that. But that does lead us to IEPs. And, we need to talk about how you set all this into motion, like in the IEPs. And we know it was both a difficult and a beautiful reception for Amelia when she arrived at the school. But, in the IEPs, did you know what to shoot for Amelia's goals? And did you feel like the IEP team was setting up appropriate but high expectations for those goals?
I did not. I did not go into the IEP meeting with what I wanted to see for goals. I actually kind of relied heavily on the IEP team, and that is because I do like the team that Amelia has currently. They're mostly all the same one that she has now, as she had since she's been having since kinder. So I felt like the goals were appropriate, and I think every single meeting since when we permitted out of our home district, Kelly has been in all my IEP meetings. I mean, this year for the IEP, they're really late because there was no psychologist. Just to show how Kelly is important to me, they submitted like, here's the IEP on this date, and I'm like, I texted Kelly right away. She's like, oh, I can't. I'm like, I'm not. It's already like a month late. I'm like, I'm not going to IEP without Kelly. So I'm like, sorry, we're not available that day. I can't budge anything, And then they submit another date, and I'm like, Kelly, what about this? And she could. I'm like, okay, I'm not going on IEP without my advocate. I'm not going on IEP without Kelly ever. She's stuck with me forever. But because she's there with me, I'm a parent. I'm a lot more like emotionally involved. Even if I go in the IEP with a really clear head, idea what I want, when they talk about your kid, it kind of like messes you up a little bit, and you forget what you wanted to say. You forget what kind of goals you like, because you're like, blah, you become, for me at least, I become a bit mushy, my brain. So Kelly's there to like.
My IEP meetings too. I can be a mess, and I get teary or cry in every single one.
Right. That's why it's so helpful. Like the advocate, like for Kelly to be there and be like, she'll ask a question, and I'm like, yes, I remember. I would have forgotten, but she doesn't, because she's there. She takes the note. So that's actually what makes me more confident to go on IEP, because I have that person by my side who is level-headed, and we've talked about before. We go prepared, and I can let my mom side take over a little bit, because I have that advocate there.
Yeah. And and all of the reasons that you just laid out. And I mean, I know, you come out, there's all the emotions. You're either feeling, relieved, or even if everything went well, sometimes it's really hard to sit in a meeting listening to a lot of people talking at you at like what your child can't do. Hopefully they're talking about what they can do too, but it's difficult and emotional, everything that you just said. And so to have someone else there to say like, am I crazy? Did I hear this? Like, how did, to really like, you kind of decompress, at least I do. And then it's like, I need to talk about it, right? It's sort of like, okay, wait, did I hear this? What did I hear? I need to kind of come back down to earth. And so to have a person, obviously, and Kelly knows you so well and has been so involved in shaping, your making sure that your goals for Amelia are coming together. And so I think that's so important. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially in the early years.
Yeah. I feel like every IEP is stressful, but you kind of do know what to expect as they come. But yeah, and we said that a lot today, balance, but it's true. It's hard to hear people talk negatively about your kid, what they can't do, what they can't do, what they can't do. But you also know that's what you need to highlight to get the support you need. So you're like,
Yeah.
we're not here to talk about what she can do, because then so you want them to get all the services they deserve. So you kind of have to highlight the negatives. It's that balance again. Like, I know I need to hear this. So then she gets the proper support, but it is difficult.
Right. While also still building up the things they can do. So then it's not used as an excuse to keep them out of certain settings. Everything is this balance. So I'm sure it's great to have Kelly to be able to help with that balance, because it's very difficult. And when it's your child, 50 times more difficult. And then Kelly, what resources did you find instrumental in supporting Isabelle for her IEP prep? And then you can tell me if you disagree, Isabelle.
So I think one of the great things we do a lot of prep. So we'll work together to come up with her list of parent concerns. Like, these are some things we want to make sure gets addressed, or we ask about. Sometimes we probably send a letter ahead of time so the team knows what we want them to make sure to cover. We get a draft copy of the IEP to review prior to the IEP, so we can see the goals and we can see the accommodations, and have Isabelle take a look. Like, does this sound good? And sometimes we might want to, like, we added one about containers, or because the OT was like, yeah, she's kind of fine, but she's really not. Like, she struggles with getting her coat zipped, and so we can push for some other areas. So we have all this planned out before we go into the meeting. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's some back and forth Isabelle will have with herself and the therapist to kind of work it. I like to get as much worked out before the IEP as possible, so then the meeting itself is pretty easy. Accommodations I think are really important, but now that she's in, so we'll talk about like what are the struggles and what do you feel like is kind of going wrong, and then we can kind of game plan backwards. And I love accommodations. I think are really important in that way. So a lot of times if you have the right accommodations, that can sort of help solve a lot of the issues. And then like for the one coming up next week, like our big thing is probably going to be, we'll discuss doing some push-in services, and then also an inclusion specialist. I really think that's probably the most important piece now that her academics are getting a little bit more rigorous. And it seems like the English and French, the gen ed teachers are kind of saying like, we don't really know, we need help. Like, we don't know what to do. She's not doing what all the other kids are doing. So what do we do? So we need somebody to come in and kind of help guide them. And it seems like sometimes that is the resource teacher, but it seems like that's not really happening right now with the current resource teacher. So we need to kind of figure that piece out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then those accommodations can completely change and evolve once that inclusion facilitator comes in, and then it becomes a different level. What do both of you think that the biggest difference what made the biggest difference in the IEP to get Amelia what she needed? What did you guys do? What did you do that you think made the biggest difference to get Amelia what she needed?
I think be predetermined, knowing what we want, what we need, and those meetings that me and Kelly hold before, it helps clear my head. We just get prepared. You just have to be really I try not to go in with like, I'm going to go to war, like anticipating negativity, because that's not, we're a team again, but just be ready for what we want. Like this IEP, the OT wants to go from 2 to 1 a week, and we have a reservation for that. So we want to just like, make sure that we go in, and you just need to go knowing what you want and why, and just be ready to present that. And, I feel like that's, if you know what you want and you're ready with the way to present it, then you can go in with confidence, and not take no for an answer unless there's a really good explanation, of why they're saying no to what you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Know where those compromises can come in and where they can't.
Right.
And, Kelly, throughout the whole experience from the IEP, to inclusion, to placement, to retention, Isabelle didn't take any easy roads. So what's the biggest thing that other parents can learn from Isabelle?
So I think the thing that I admire most about Isabelle, and I think this has been something that's really helped Amelia throughout, is just her passion for her daughter. Like, she's always Amelia focused. She's not like, this is what I think I want. She's like, this is what my daughter needs. She knows her daughter incredibly well. And she's always like child centered. She's always thinking about what's in the best interest for Amelia. And because she has such a collaborative relationship with the other members of the team, they all love Isabelle. They all love Amelia. Like, that's very evident in the meetings that we have. I think it's a really open, collaborative IEP team. So I think we all see like her passion and her just desire. Her expectations are not unrealistic. So she's not like upset because she's not reading on grade level. Like, she's like, this is my kid, and let's take the steps to make things better for her. I think the issue with the district is that they don't really have what they need in order to fully make that come to fruition for her. And so there is so much fight on the part of the parents. And I think Isabelle is such a great example of that, just being like so positive and so passionate about her daughter and what her daughter needs. And she won't take no for an answer. And she won't, like, the principal said, no, yeah, we don't do retention here. And she's like, yeah, I don't think, let's take it to the next level and see what happens. And so she's driven to support her daughter.
Right. And Evie had a question for you, Isabelle. She said, besides the accommodations, what modifications have worked for kindergartners in the Gen Ed setting? Have you seen any modifications that have been made in the kindergarten? Did you see any in the kindergarten setting?
No, I mean, sometimes I get modification accommodations confused, but like I said, like the binder, the visual schedules, the dark markers, is that modification?
Yeah, those are accommodations. She didn't really need modifications in kindergarten.
Right.
Not in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you would hope that most things would be able to be accommodated in kindergarten, but I'm sure there are circumstances, but it's hard to imagine people who can't imagine inclusion in kindergarten. Yet we've all seen that is
they're there.
way too commonplace. Yes. So Isabelle, I mean, I know we're coming up at time, but what are your top 3 tips for parents that you learned from your entire kinder experience?
I guess I would say, first of all, just know what your rights are, like what you can and can't ask for. Because I didn't know I needed Kelly's help. It's a new world. I never had a kid with special needs before. So just educate yourself on what, the least restrictive environment and all what are your rights as a parent in public schools or private schools, and then know those rights, know them well. I think, because I felt like I could have done even more to be more prepared, to know what was on my side. Also, I would say engage the teachers, engage them, be ready to educate, not in a way where it's condescending, like, you're an idiot, let me tell you how it is. Just, hey, I'm a partner in the education of my kid. And so I educate them. For me, it was about Down syndrome. It's still, a lot of people still don't know about what to expect with a kid with Down syndrome. So whatever your kid diagnosis is, go in and meet with the teachers ahead of time. Do you have any questions? Be proactive. Give them printouts about, here's what it is in a nutshell, the diagnosis, I think that would help. And also having a little get to know your kid before school starts, strengths, weaknesses, things that tick him or her off, things like that. Just be proactive in letting those educators know who your kid is, so that the law, engage the teachers and educating them, and everybody that will be working with your kid, be proactive in educating them. And then I think also know your why. Don't just go I always say, I didn't fight for inclusion for Amaya for inclusion's sake. It's not inclusion, that's it. That's the only way. But why? So know your why. Why is that the best choice? Why do you think that's the best environment for your kid? Just be ready. Because if you know your why, as opposed to, that's just what we do. Either, for the school to say, we don't do that it's not good. But for you to say, we just do that, but not knowing why, I think you'd be better equipped and confident if you're this is why. And because you have those reasons, you know your why, it gives you confidence to enter these social spheres.
Absolutely. And what is we know Amelia is your why, but what I think a great place to wrap it is, what is your vision for Amelia? What is all this building towards? What do you envision?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it always goes back to Amelia being an included, active member of society wherever she goes. So if it's her ballet class, school, church, wherever she goes, I want her to be included in every aspect, whether she has differences or not. And I want her to feel like she belongs. I don't want her to feel like she's an other. I want her to feel like she is worthy. She is so capable. I want her to assume competence, but I want everybody else to see that. I want everybody else to see that you don't have to be worried about her. Like, it's just for her to feel like she's included everywhere and she's loved and worthy and received, with open arms, which sounds kind of cliche, but that's just what I want for her. I want her to be just part of the society in every way,
Of course. I shouldn't say every person, right? But most people want to be part of the world, as simple as that seems. Yet when the message continues to come across that your child belongs, in another class, in another school, in another apartment building, whatever that might be, that's what inclusion is. It's that all of the beautiful diversity of our world is living in it together, exactly where they are, which is exactly where they should be. And, everyone needs to, rewrite in their mind what they think of as.
Right. And I guess I would just add also for her to do what brings her joy without having like any expectations. Like as she gets older, see and encourage those passions and gifts that she has. If she's happy, which she is a really happy, love life kind of girl, if she's happy in what she's doing and people love her, I think, that it's simple, but then I think other things will fall into place when those initial pieces are in,
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you for sharing your story. I mean, you're an amazing pair, and I know you've been together for a long time, but I'm inspired always by both of you and for hearing your story and to be able to then share that with other parents so they can learn from it. Isabelle, it's incredible. And, if this feels intimidating, just channel what Isabelle shared. So it may feel like you're sometimes going to war instead of an IEP, hopefully not, but this is your team. Cultivate it, try and build trust and steer back to that North Star, which is your child. And, you can do this. I know Kelly, Isabelle, and I all feel like this. No one's going to fight harder for your child than you. You don't have to know everything, right? Start small. And if you question something that's said to you, look into it, ask about it, ask to see that policy, lean on other parents, hire an advocate if you feel like you need that. And if you want a consistent partner on this journey, one who always has your back, we would love to help you with that. You don't have to do this alone. And so to find out more information about how you can meet your navigator and have your first boost call, check out the Kickstart. Donna's going to put the link in the chat. And like I mentioned in the beginning, in a minute, we're going to leave you with a preview of one of Kelly's recent boost calls when she's getting a mom ready for summer with Regional Center. And I'm going to cough. Excuse me. And you're going to get a glimpse into that call, a peek at our app and our digital binder, because let's face it, there are, and I can say this with personal experience, there are no closets big enough for the old binders that hold all this critical information about our kiddos. So ditch them and go digital. And if you're not already a member of our Facebook group, please join us. This week, we are talking about conservatorship, preschool programs, and the ever-present potty training. So we're not going to see you next Thursday as we slow down our events just a bit during the summer. So make sure and check our Facebook page for any upcoming events. And if you're in our Facebook group, you're going to be the first to know. We're going to be back in 2 weeks with something I'm very excited for, estate planning. We dread it, but we got to do it. So we're going to have former estate attorney and currently one of Maryland's assistant attorney generals, as well as being the mom to 3, including 1 kiddo with a disability. Brianna Davidson Jarrett is going to break down the most important things that you need to plan for in the long and short term. And in addition to doing this professionally, she's creating her own family's estate plan right now. So you don't want to miss the practical advice that she's going to bring. She's awesome. It's part of our 4-part summer series, Building a Better Financial Future, where we're going to go over all the best practices to set yourself and your family up for financial success without all the financial jargon that makes you shut down. So also please note that this series is going to be at a different time. It's going to be at 2:00 Pacific Standard Time on Thursdays. So plan a late lunch or a snack and join us live. Donna's going to put the RSVP info in the chat window. Send in your questions ahead of time and we can get to them, even if you can't attend live. And Can you believe it? Isabelle, Kelly, you're here. This is a wrap for IEPs this year, at least here on Facebook Live. I know many of us are still in the IEP trenches. But thank you again to Isabelle and Kelly. You are the Wonder Twins. And thanks to Donna and Iris in the chat, and to all of you for stopping by Undivided Live. Wishing you a holiday weekend filled with love, family, and gratitude, and a deep thank you to our veterans. And we're going to leave you with that sneak peek into one of Kelly's boost calls. I do just have to say this. It's been a horrific week in the news. So we hold you and your families and all families close to our hearts. So we hope to see you soon. Take care of each other.
Okay, so let's dig into the account and tell me, how's James? Give me like an overview of what's been going on.
James is doing great. He is enjoying school. He's got an incredible aide, so that's wonderful. His team is working hard on the whole AAC device thing. School is going well. They finally have an inclusion specialist who's in there.
Talk to me about summer's coming up.
We got James into a camp where I can drop them off for like 3 hours in the day. I'm hoping to find more. This kid is a social being and he loves being around people. And
let me hop into the account. And our wonderful benefits specialist put together a new guide for our families that we can put into their accounts. There was a new law that went into effect last summer where social rec activities would be covered by regional centers. Let me walk you through the guide that Lisa created. Okay. For tips about that, think about what your child's goals are, what you want for them, what they want, where they need support, etc. And then think about what kinds of services would help them meet those goals. What specific supports do you think you will need over the summer to ensure that you can continue to meet your child's needs? Do you need more respite or daycare or supervision? And then we have an article about that to get the most out of regional center this summer, which I think is a fantastic article. It might be helpful to check if your regional center has the list of who's vendored through them on their website. Okay. Kind of check through that list and see if any might be you feel like any might be beneficial for James, and then request that from your service coordinator. And then if you'd like to have a consultation call with Lisa CK about this, because she's much more knowledgeable about this than I am, let me know and I can set that up, because she'll do a free 15-minute consult. If you have any specific questions or need any specific guidance from her, I can set that up. Okay. I know there's some challenges with getting the orthotics covered. Our director of health plan services for advocacy, she's set to have a consultation call with you. She just needs certain information uploaded into the account, front and back of your insurance card. Yeah. What she needs is here in the first 2 steps. Just let me know that's been in there, and then I can connect the 2 of you. She's fantastic. You can find these guides here. It's called Our Plan. Okay. And the account just hop into. All right. And then I want to check in with you about your needs and wants. See if there are any updates, see what updates have happened since the last time we talked. How about his behaviors?
Behaviors have been kind of up and down. It's getting better.
Oh, that's fantastic. If you want to upload in the document section, if you want to upload James's IEP, I can make an IEP summary. You click Add New. If you already have it as a PDF, you can select the file from your browser and add it. If you're on an iPhone, you can just take pictures of the pages and it'll automatically upload, which is pretty cool.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You have a really good support team in place for him now. And that's key. Are you making sure to take some time for your own self?
Oh, you stop it, Kelly.
I know. This one annoys a lot of my clients, but I think it's important. So I liked.
Yes, I know. You are right. I know. So yes, I am working on that. It's a work in progress.
All right. That makes me happy.
Okay, good.
That makes me happy. All right. It was so good to see you.
So nice to see you, Kelly.
I will see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Kelly.
Bye.
Bye.